Alrighty, so for today's episode of Lectures with Liddington, we're going to talk about some slightly different situations. Last episode, we talked about Punnett squares, and I showed you guys how to do Punnett squares. In all of those cases, they were examples of what we call complete dominance, in which your dominant trait completely hides or covers the other trait. That's not the case in all inherited conditions. So we're going to talk about two slightly different situations that are a little bit more complicated. Codominance and incomplete dominance. In codominance, what's going to happen is neither trait is dominant, right? They are both dominant. They are co-dominant. Think of cooperating. You work together, right? They are co-dominant together. So you will see both traits. Neither one will be hidden. Examples of this would be stripes or spots. So for example, in cats, a cream and gray striped cat will have an allele for the cream and an allele for the gray. So you will see both cream and gray stripes on that cat. Another real life example is in cows. There's a color called roan. And roan is a pattern in which they have red and white spots on them. So in this case, R is the allele for red and W is the allele for the white. So when we have a heterozygous genotype, which would be that R and that W, that's when we will have a roan cow. So let's try a practice problem. If you cross two heterozygous roan cows, even though that's kind of repetitive because that heterozygous means it's roan, what would the ratio of possible offspring be? So we've got two heterozygous. So we've got an R and a W up here. And on this side, we have an R and a W. So we do that same process where we drop our R's and we shuffle them from the sides that we did with our previous Punnett squares. So R, R. Down here we have R, W. Over here we have R, W. And down here we have W, W. So if we read our information here, RR, this would be a red cow. RW would be a roan cow. Down here, this WW would be white. And over here, we'd have another roan. So we'd end up with 25% chance red, 25% white, and then 50% roan, because we have two of them, that would be a roan phenotype. So most likely the offspring of this particular cross would be half roan, about 25% red and about 25% white. This isn't exact, but it's an approximation of the chances or the probabilities of any one of them being those particular colors. So another type of dominance is called incomplete dominance. And this is when in that heterozygous individual, you're going to see a blended phenotype. So for example, say we have red is dominant and white is recessive, then that heterozygous is going to be a pink. So it's a blend between the two colors. It happens a lot with colors. So for example, if you had red flowers and yellow flowers, then your heterozygous might be orange. So you will see both of them sort of blend and meld together. A really common example is red and white in flowers, where the heterozygous individual will be pink. So heterozygous would be big R, little r. So let's do a practice problem. Cross two pink flowers. What would be the ratios of those offspring? So they're both big R, little r, big R, little r. Do that same drop and shuffle. Big R, big R, big R, little r, big R, little r, and then two littles down here. So then that would make appear this would be red flowers. This would be pink flowers. Over here we'd have white flowers. And then these ones would be pink as well. So we'd have 25% chance red, 25% chance white, and then 50% chance pink. Because see, I've got two here. That would be the heterozygous genotype, which would give me the pink phenotype because of that incomplete dominance. So you'll notice that when I have complete dominance or codominance and incomplete dominance, rather, you do the Punnett square in the same way that you did those complete dominance situations before. So I do the Punnett square the exact same way. The only difference is how I interpret the results, is how I interpret the relationships between the different alleles. So if you're good at the Punnett squares, this is very similar. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to pay attention to the clues that they give you in the problem. Do they tell you it's complete? Do they tell you it's incomplete? And just make sure to pay attention to those, and then you can do it no problem. So try out the practice problems and see how it goes.